these with me. I don't feel no.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Breakfast of Champions. How are you all doing this morning? I am so happy to be here this morning, and I thank God for waking us all up this morning. I do feel a little raspy, so please look over my voice. You know, allergies, we're going into the allergy season. I don't know if everyone has those types of things that go on in their lives that I do, but I do appreciate you all coming on this morning. Leaders, we're going to talk about leading and serving this morning. And I hope you all had a wonderful day yesterday. Yesterday morning, I think everyone got energized about conversations, those conversations, family conversations. Mr. Harlan really brought a powerful word and also conversation yesterday on how we handle or how we should handle ourselves in certain situations. I'm not going to get into all that this morning, but I just wanted to take my hats off to him and to Dr. Wade for 2 days really of really good information and also giving us a lot of nuggets to take and put in our, I don't know if you have a briefcase, a treasure chest or whatever, but hopefully it's up here in our head and right here in our heart that we take those with us. So this morning, I don't know what time we're gonna end, probably a little early because I gotta jump on to work like everyone else has to. But I wanted to come on this morning and kind of pick up where we left off last week. And hopefully you all have had some situations this week that maybe you can share with everyone in the room about leadership and serving. Because sometimes when we talk about certain things that are going on or certain topics in our lives and we share and we talk about it, then things start happening. Does that ever happen to you? The same thing that you just talked about or shared, something happens, somebody comes along the way, or you are able to use what you've heard like yesterday, when Harlan was talking about, break that bed. I bet y'all, did y'all break any beds last night? I said, Lord, I said these furniture stores are gonna love this room because breaking beds was yesterday, right? But we start to use what we've learned, right? And we start to um get better at it. The more we use the tools that we have and the resources that have been given to us, the better we should get, right? So last week we talked about in terms of leadership, we kind of took it on, if you will, on our spiritual lives a little bit, and we talked about, we have to lead ourselves first. We talked about us. And even from yesterday, everybody is not married, but we do have some singles out there. And if you didn't get any flowers, if you didn't get any candy, if you didn't get anything, we have to love ourselves first, right? So, and it's not about that because sometimes we can get caught up by what the culture, what society make these different holidays up for their capitalism. How many flowers the flower business was really booming yesterday, the candy business. So they got us programmed that we're supposed to get something, right? All the time. So don't get caught up on the holiday, in terms of relationship and all that. We should be giving love and receiving love on a daily basis in different forms, different levels of relationship. So, hey, I enjoyed my day. I had a good day, and I hope everybody had a wonderful day as well. So, leading yourself as a believer, we talked about that as far as having a life, that we have a devotional life, that we are studying, reading the word, praying, those things that should be consistent, right, in our life on a daily basis. Praying, those are the tools that and the ways we could communicate with God. We learn more about being a believer and walking in the principles that have been established for us. So we talked about that and how we need to prioritize our life in terms of prayer and how we fit everything in there, our devotions, our Bible studies, things like that, and how we have to go and we have to carve out that time, like during the time of fasting and praying that we're doing right now. We have to carve that time out and be able to steal away, to be able to just be empowered by God in the direction of whatever you're laying out before him, and you're having that dialogue, that one-on-one communication, and that vertical, and getting closer to him and hearing what the assignment is for this season, and making sure that we are balanced, in areas that we need to get balanced if we know that we're not balanced, right? And so and we talked about also some things, some characteristics that we should have as far as living in integrity, being honest. Let your actions align with your Christian, with our Christian beliefs in both public and in private. We don't want to act one way in public, in church, in those types of arenas, and then at home we're totally rogue, we're totally different. Your kids, your family, who is that? you know Mama act or daddy acts this way in church, but when we get home, I don't know who, they act different, they're not the same, and we don't want to show, or we don't want to be that person to deter someone from Christ. We want to draw them to Christ, but we want us and our behavior and our personality and who we are to be consistent, right? We want some consistency in who we believe in, and then we want that to impact those who we love in our family, who we impact outside of our homes, as far as even in the workplace, because I believe we are all workplace, and we minister in our workplace, in our work environments, right? Which we can be termed of marketplace ministers, because all of us have the ministry of reconciliation. So we should be able to function and flow in that, in our different areas, and where we live, grow, and where we could have community. Okay, so we also talked about goals. We talked about setting goals, and when we set those goals, being able to accomplish them, and in a timely manner, or whatever goals that we desire to have those. And sometimes we have to reevaluate those goals to make sure that there's still the goals that we need to hit the mark on, because sometimes things in life happens and we have to shift. Like lead when I put in a post at Facebook and our page, as far as even myself. I mean, I am not the girl in the morning. I am not a morning person. So for me to be here sharing with you guys this morning is a shift. It was a shift for me, right? And so I thank God for it, but it was a shift, and I had to say, okay, Faith, if this is an assignment that I need to do, and God would want me to do, and Marilyn invited me to do it or asked me to do it, I want to be accountable. I want to be there and be of help and of service and to serve. So I have to take my flesh, right? Who I am, I say, okay, I'm gonna have to get up. So with that, I have to prepare my mind that faith, I am going to get up. I'm gonna shift and change my behavior from sleeping until 7 or 7:15. I'm gonna get up earlier and I'm going to do what I have to do. So that is a shift. It's a mind shift. Especially, I don't know how many of you go in late. I'm a late person. All my career, my 37 years working. I've always come in after 8, 8:39. That has been my pattern for years, right? I'm not the early bird who catches the worm. I catch that worm in the evening or in the afternoon. And so, but I get it now. I get that worm. I don't let it slip by. But all those years, my body has been conditioned because I had kids. I had to drop them off at school, blah, blah, blah. So I always came in late. And so then I stayed late. And so I caught the end of the day. I caught, most people leaving out and what have you, and the work at the end. So, getting up, sometimes it just, you just have to make those adjustments, which causes a shift. It can cause a shift. So sometimes these things we have to make these adjustments, right? We talked about practicing self-care. And we talked about, the things that we do to make us feel a certain way. We talked about how we can get our nails done, our hair done. We can get these massages. We can have a spa day. We can go out and have lunch with girlfriends and what have you. That could be self-care. But we also talked about the self-care that we do on the inside as well. The things that we need to adjust, make those adjustments in our lives and for us, just for us, the things that we can do in terms of maybe self-development. We talked a little bit about self-development as far as taking courses, being mentored, going to conferences and areas where you want to be sharpened, right? So those are some of the things that, we talked about in terms of getting better and growing, about growing and have I've heard I think it was John Maxwell, because he's one of my mentors. And so he was talking about getting a growth plan. We have a plan for what we're going to do for the year and how we're going to, move through the calendar months. But he has a growth plan, and that's a plan of growth. How are you going to grow through a whole year? What are you going to do each month, or however you want to look at it, bi-weekly, quarterly? What are you going to do as far as to challenge growth and being consistent with growing? Because we never want to just get stuck and not grow and not expand. And we talked about that last week about, we're growing. We have so much inside of us that need to come out, through serving, through, if you have a business, all that stuff, all the things that you have to share to serve others. We talked about how much we have. And I even said some of us are about to bust because we need to pour out. We need to give out of what we already have inside. How can God, and let's take it to our Father, how can God pour any more into us if we're all full? We can't. And then the things that are inside of us, if we don't use them, like our gifts that God has given us, we have different types of gifts that God has given us. Some of us on here, in terms of leaders, we have different gifts that God has poured to us, and you all use them. I don't know if you've ever had a spiritual gifts assessment, but you probably need to take that so you can see where your gifts are, and we can get one online. I think you can take it, and it's free of charge to know where your spiritual gifts are. Some of you are teachers. We have the five. I'm not going to teach about the fivefold and all that today, but we do have gifts. We have the gifts that God has poured and given, and then we have some that the Holy Spirit has bestowed upon us, and we could talk about that another time. But the point I'm trying to make is that if we have all this inside of us and we haven't identified what we are strong in terms of serving, then how are we going to be able to use them effectively if we don't know what those gifts are? If we don't know what our strengths are, if we don't know what our weaknesses are, if we don't know where God is guiding us and leading us in a direction, right, and where he is trying to place us to utilize everything that is inside of us. So he can't put anything else in us if we haven't used it, right? And the things that are in us, if we don't use it, it gets stale. Just like, when you buy bread, you go to the store and you buy a loaf of bread. If you don't open that bread and eat that bread, it gets stale. It starts to mold, and after so many days, you don't want that bread anymore. Well, that's the same things that are inside. If we don't use it, we'll lose it. And we don't want to lose it. We want to use it and grow from there and kind of springboard into other things. Because, we're just not here on this earth to serve just in one area. The Lord is always speaking. He's always talking, but I don't know if we always hear him, but he's always showing us things through our senses. It's not always somebody, it could be another leader, delegating, say, hey, Felicia, I want you to do that. But one day it might be you delegating or asking. I think I see, God using you in this area. I want you to do this and this and this. Well, see, that's a leadership skill in the terms of even in our spiritual eyes, in our spiritual life, that leadership skills go hand in hand. It's not all for the workplace. And thank God for the marketplace, because we all, have, most of us here in this room, we have to work to some degree, but we also take those same skills and we use them in the house of God. We use it in our community. We use those skills in order to serve as God has called us to go out, and make disciples. We've used that. And so, with that being said, we kind of hit on the other day, last Thursday, about leadership. And I made a statement that some people might feel that in order to be a leader, you have to have, a degree in leadership. You have to have all these, different degrees, which is fine. But you don't have to have a certain level of education to be a leader. And I want to make sure that we feel good about that, about ourselves, because we are all leaders. We are all leaders. I don't care what level, where you've come, your journey, if you've been to college, not been to college, whatever. We are leaders, and we have to be confident in that. We have to be confident that we know we are leaders and we have leadership abilities, right? And so thank you, Nini, for sharing. I think you shared the link in the chat in terms of spiritual gifts test. Is that correct? Just let me know. I want to make sure that if that's the case. So if you haven't okay, thank you, Ladibra. If you haven't taken it, just hey, take it and you can kind of see. And maybe if you take it between now and next week, we can talk about it. Bring your I have to look at the test to actually see how they're weighing the test, if it's designating what areas, or specifically what offices, if it's a pastoral, if it's evangelistic, if it's a teacher, I have to see how the test is, but just take it. And then let's talk about it next Thursday. You can bring the results and we can see where we are, if you want to share. I'll put it like that, if you want to share. But in terms of anyone being a leader, in terms of education, yes, it's okay to get education. I go to leadership conferences, I read books, I do all that, but that doesn't mean I'm not a leader. I do that because I want to be a better leader, right? And so a lot of times, when we are going in that sphere of leadership, because leadership is multifaceted concept that entangles and it's woven with so many different ingredients, right? We have life experiences. A lot of our life experiences shape who we are as leaders, the things that we have gone through, different circumstances can contribute to our effective leadership. Are you adaptable? Adaptability, being able to navigate change, being flexible. See, that's a great skill to handle situations that happen through experiences and different environments. Being able to work. You can work in different environments. Just think about COVID. That's good, Anita. Multitask. Sometimes multitask is good. My daughter, I'm a multitasker, and I can type, and she could stand right next to me here, and she could communicate to me, and I'm typing or whatever. But that can be looked at as rude because I'm multitasking. I'm not looking at her face. I'm not looking at her. I'm not giving her the attention that she needs in order to communicate. And she's asked, she says, "Are you hearing me? Are you listening to me?" I'm listening to you. I'm listening real good. That ear, and she's standing here, that ear is right here. And yeah, I'm listening to you. But am I giving her the attention that she needs? So sometimes, some people can say that's rude. You're multitasking, but we have to use it tactfully, right? We have to use it tactfully. But and I hope I was getting ready to say something, but that kind of took me in another direction. I was talking about when I saw multitasking. But we were talking about being adaptable. And oh yes, Miss Regina. Miss Regina, I know, blows in adaptability because from what we learned from her responsibilities that she does on a daily basis as a manager, as a leader, she has to be adaptable. And I can't remember, she has so many hats. She could wear a different hat. Well, she really could wear several hats in one day, in terms of what she had shared last week. And so she's adaptable because she has to change due to whatever environment that she's in or whatever environment the workplace is going through at that time. Okay, so we talked about self-development. That's another characteristic. Um, it's another characteristic. Does anybody have any questions before we go or anything they want to say? I want you to feel free to open up your mic so we can have a discussion today with leaders. And if someone could look in the chat, let's look in the chat real quick and see if we need to, I don't know how far I need to go back because it's been a lot of dialogue, but and thank you everybody for throwing stuff in the chat. I'm not a chat person as I talk, so I need y'all to help me. And that's why I want you to open up your mic, raise your hand, do something to say, hey, I have to say something, because I never want you to feel like you can't do that because you, oh,
Faith. Good
yes,
morning,
ma'am.
Miss. I would just talk about leadership and serving. You know, last week we talked about this same subject, and like you said, it does when you speak it, it happens, and it happened to me on my job last week. I got several well, actually this week we talked about it last week, but it happened this week a couple of days ago. I had got recognized in my job for leadership and service. I wasn't expecting it, but it happened.
See, thank you. That's congratulations, Ladibra. That's right. I saw that you put that in the chat. And I did say congratulations. That is important. When people see you, when you embrace, actually embrace it. Sometimes we have to give ourselves a break. I think sometimes we might put so much on us that we feel like, well, I'm not this and I'm not that, or I haven't done this and I haven't done that. Just give yourself a break and say, hey, give yourself space to breathe and just take the load off. Sometimes we're trying to hustle, hustle, hustle. We're trying to make it happen. And that sometimes we miss what's going on. We miss some of the things that we should be picking up because we're so busy trying to make it happen. We miss some of the big nuggets that we were supposed to get along the way. I don't know if that resonates with anybody, but sometimes we can get in the rush too much and we just need to take a pause for the cause, right? And we need to just embrace the moment, take it in, soak it in. So say for instance, using since Debra brought it up. Okay, so she got recognized, right? Okay, Ladibra, come off your mic. How did that make you feel? Let's do it. I mean, I'm just real quickly. Let's do a little analysis on that. Okay. First of all, what did you do in order to get that?
Well, they asked me for the employee resource group in my company. So they asked me about sharing LinkedIn because a lot of people in our group are professional and corporate don't have LinkedIn. You would be surprised. You would think they would have LinkedIn, but a lot of them don't have it. And so I told them I have it, and a couple of them asked me, "Well, can I share my experiences on LinkedIn and do a PowerPoint presentation?" I did that, and when I did that, I got member spotlight for that month. This just sharing LinkedIn with a couple of people in corporate. Then I got nominated for my DI council for also sharing.
Hold on. What's a DI?
Oh, excuse me. Diversity and inclusion. If anybody don't know what that is, a lot of corporate people have that. My company has that. So I got award from them as well. And then I got award from my boss because they, you get nominated through your company and they notify your manager, and then my manager recognized me as well. So I got 3 awards back to back that same day. And the only thing I did was share LinkedIn. So today I have to share Who Moved My Cheese is a book, a powerful book. If anybody ever never read it.
Oh, yes.
I have to do a presentation on that today, me and my colleague. She's out in New York. So we'll be doing a PowerPoint on that. So I recommend anybody who wants to change their home life or their work life. It's a good book. It's about 95, 96 pages long, very short passages. And it's just an eye-open book. And like I said, I have to do that today at 1:00. So y'all pray for me. I'm trying to learn how to slow down my thoughts because I do talk fast, Miss Faith.
Yeah,
So,
I was gonna tell you, like, slow it down a little bit, slow it down, because you
ma'am.
want everybody to hear you clearly. You want
Yes.
words to be weighted, right? And
Yes.
so we don't
So
want to.
I said, I have to learn how to, slow down because they did nominate me for a communications officer for that department. So I'll know the end of the month if I have it. But I have to do a presentation for everybody because since I got member spotlight, they wants me to give them a bio about me. So I'm definitely gonna give this room a shout out because I learned a lot from this room. Because like you said,
Oh,
it starts with God first. God gets the glory.
right, of course. We
Or
all give him the glory for that, you know,
yeah,
for anything that he does in our lives for increase and hey, and if he didn't have to do anything else, we give him the glory, right? Just
yes, ma'am.
because who he is.
Yes,
But
ma'am. I even
congratulations,
yeah,
though.
everything that I'm going through this whole season and this change, going out for promotion in my job. But like I said, if it wasn't for God first in this room and my family and friends, close, prayer works. I don't take all the fame because it's corporate people. I always make sure I give God the glory in that meeting. I let them know, hey, God, if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be here. And that's what I respect my leaders at my job because they respect that. You
Oh,
know,
that's
so
great. Thank you for sharing. Another thing, I think you work do you work from home, Ladibra?
yes, sir, I'm working now as I talk to. I'm talking to you now. Yes, I'm working.
Oh, okay, okay. So I think that's where I was gonna go to as far as adaptability, because I know you all know during COVID, it was like really, it was a whole different world. It's a whole new world during that time of COVID. And I worked in the office and probably everybody else worked in their excuse me, environments in a building all their lives, all their working lives. And so all of a sudden in March of 2020, we went home. We went home and I'm working on federal government, and they say take your laptop and everything and go home until we call you. You're going to be working from home. And so that whole environment, we had to adapt in so many ways in 2020. We had in terms of our work environment, we had to adapt in new tools or learning new processes and how to communicate and how to get the work done. In terms of even like visual, like we're doing now, Zoom, we didn't have a Zoom because we met face to face. We didn't have Teams at that time, so you can communicate even audibly without even the video. I had to learn how to manage virtually, even though all of us might live in this, well, for me in this DFW area, but everybody was in their own home. And so I had to manage people who I couldn't actually touch. We didn't have any paper. Everything was paperless in terms of meeting, different um actions or projects. All these things were done virtually. That was a big shift, for everybody. But I think that, and I can only say from where I worked, we were more productive. And I don't know if anyone in the room could say the same thing, but after the data was put together over the 3-year span of COVID, we were more productive virtually than we were in the building. And it was I think it blew our minds. Well, it really didn't blow our minds because we knew we were working hard. We knew we were working hard because we were here. We were not going, out to eat. We didn't stop by, my girlfriend's cubicle or go over here and had this conversation. We weren't social in that respect. So therefore, we had productivity going. Okay, so I think the pain point was that they were having buildings that weren't being used. And as far as the budget was concerned, they're paying for an empty building. So that was something that was, messy. Benora, you open up your mic first. You want to say something? Benora?
Oh, no, no. I'm sorry. I'm just switching over. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
okay, that's fine, no problem. I just thought you wanted to say something. Um, so anyway, we had, all those different changes going on. So we had to be adaptable. Okay, so during that time. Now we also have to remember that we have influence and inspiration. We are inspirational people, and we help to motivate, as a leader, guide those toward a common goal. And we talked about also, goals even in our homes. We have goals that we set, as leaders. We have our own individual goals, and then you might have family goals that you want to meet as a family. You get together, sit down, talk about things that you want to do, vacations, things you want to get accomplished around the home, even places that you want to do or volunteer to serve. Your family can serve together. And so these are some things that you can think about doing, to meet your goals as far as a leader in the home. Also, one thing I want to talk about is communication. Okay, yes, Ladibra.
Oh, you was talking about your family. My husband made a suggestion this year. He wants our family, so giving gifts to each other. How about going down to volunteering and doing like the soup kitchens and volunteering, giving our gifts that we give each other to others. And I was like, you know what, that's a good idea. We talk about always giving, and I know I'm big about that. He's big about that too. We always want to pour into others. He said, this year we're gonna do something different. We're not gonna get a kid's gift. We're gonna make them go down and serve. So that's all I wanted to say.
That's wonderful. We do need to expose our children in terms of giving back. I'm firm believer that we should, our children, our grandchildren, we get a lot of stuff and we give a lot of stuff as parents, as aunties, grandparents, uncles, dads, we give a lot to our children, but they need to know, and they need to be able to serve and be a servant even at a young age. They need to know how to serve others even in their own little world, that they can make an impact, they can help someone else. And in cases where they can feel accomplished, because they're leaders in their own right, and if we teach them young all the leadership qualities, not only for just being being a good human in this crazy cultural world, then they can take that and be how powerful as they get older. They'll have a better foundation of who they are. They'll identify who they are, their purpose, or one of their areas where their strengths are. I mean, it's just nothing but positivity, nothing but positivity. Denise, did you have something you wanted to say? I think your hand was up. I think it was Denise. Was it Denise?
No, ma'am. I hit that
Oh, okay.
error.
Okay, no problem. No problem. No problem. And so another area that is very, very important as far as leadership is concerned is communication. And if we don't have effective communication in anything, and I think we talked about that Tuesday when Dr. Wade was talking about how we relate to, our our spouse, our significant other, our children, our friends. It could apply to anybody in our world. How we need to be aware of how we communicate, how we contribute. And we're talking in the workplace right now. How do we contribute in our working environment? Do you work on a team, or do you work by yourself? Do you interact with your manager or your supervisor? How do you communicate whatever you're doing, if it's a project or if it's just everyday work tasks that you do you have to interact with people? You have customers, internal customers internal to your organization? Do you have external customers? How do you communicate to them whatever you are talking about, delivering, or if you are even providing a service? And so it's important how we communicate and how we communicate if we're communicating effectively, because a term that I learned years ago, it says everyone can communicate, but how many are connecting? And it's the connection points, because we can talk all day long. We can we can talk, but are you connecting to whomever you're communicating with? Are you being effective? Are they listening to you? Are you trying to bring a point? And then the other area in the communication, are you listening when they give you the feedback, from your communication? Are you listening to them? Are you giving them the eye contact, the nonverbal? So all that, the communication is a lot when you think about it to be effective. One thing as far as just shifting a little bit, even in our leadership environment, in any space that we're in, and it can be also in our relationships. I heard this acronym last week and I said, I'm gonna bring it in the room. And it just kind of sounded really, catchy. And DTR. And I think this will help us, especially when we have situations where we might have a relationship with someone at work that is a little challenging. We think about it's called define the relationship. If we DTR, define the relationship before we get involved with or making a friendship or associate, or if we're single, going in that direction of meeting someone, before you get involved and get to another level of relational, talk or just defining, we need to define what this is. And we can just apply that to anything. We need to define, because I think that will help us when we are discussing certain things in the workplace, even at church. Define the relationship. Am I talking to you as we're talking one-on-one? Are we equal to each other? Am I talking to a leader? We have to define the relationship relationally of the communication, how we're communicating, because we don't want to offend anybody. We don't want to be untactful. We don't want to be haughty. We want to serve in love. So we need to define that relationship, especially if we have a misunderstanding. We have to be sure that we're defining the relationship and we have the right posture in terms of how we communicate. Anybody want to open mic? Anything? Anyone want to say anything? Okay, and go further. Okay, and I want to hit a little bit. I have some notes here about change. We didn't talk about change with that being a leader. That's good. Body language is important. Body language is very important on how we communicate as well. Sometimes we don't have to say a word. Our body language can be either our victor or it could be our defeat. in the certain thing, that's whatever environment that we're in. As far as, let's take it to our work environment, because of different things are happening, corporations, companies, even yourself, if you're an entrepreneur, you got your own business. Sometimes we got to relaunch, we got to rebrand, we got to reorganize, we got to realign, it's all these different things depending on where there are, their budget, the goals. Are we meeting this, or has our whole product line shifted? Our products and services, are we changing this? So many different dynamics that it could be in the workplace. Sometimes your company might even have to relocate to a different location. It could be in the city, it could be in another state, it could be in another region. So change is all the time. We're changing all the time. And sometimes it's very difficult, depending on what is changing, for us to adapt to it, or to shift or move with the change. Even in our personal lives, things are changing. And so we have to come to the resolve that either we're going to do it, like we're going to even move with the flow with the change, or we're going to have to do something different. Sometimes if the change is not fitting us in terms of work or a company, we might need to start looking for another job, if we don't want to accept what's going on. But one thing that we can say, that change is an external thing that we do. But in terms of change in Marcus, if I'm saying this wrong, please correct me, because I don't want to shift out and say something that might not be clinically right. But your change is external, but when you are attempting to change, to transform, or to readjust some things that might be going on with you personally, a transformation that you do is in the inside. It happens internally. So we change is on the outside. The internal is we're transforming on the inside. Okay, the inside. Yes, the inside first. Yes, thank you, Marcus. I appreciate you being here. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that that was right. I didn't want to speak out and that wasn't correct. That internal does that's the heavy work, if you will. And whatever happens internally, that we make those changes in our heart and our mind, our soul, and our spirit, then that will manifest externally, that change, the glow on your face, the love that you feel, the smile, the hug that you give, and all that impacts you personally. It impacts those who are around you. And what about taking it even for God? Because these are our hands, it's God's hands, God's feet. We're doing the work of God. So all that is nothing but 100. So change can be a positive thing in your life. But I know a lot of people that change when they don't want to change, they get stubborn. They don't want to hear it, even if it's something that can benefit themselves. But some people don't want to grow. Some people don't want to move in another direction. They don't even want to look at the pros and the cons, of the change. Would this benefit me? So to bring this to another point, it's important when we make decisions, are we good decision makers? Because sometimes if we don't analyze the decision that we are or that we're attempting to make, the situation in terms of making a decision, some decisions will cause us a lot of wasted time if we don't make the right decision. Sometimes we can't we can't turn that decision around depending on what it is. I'll say, oh, I made a wrong decision. Well, it's too late. You know, we have to really, that's why I said we need to breathe. Sometimes we rush so fast, we make decisions, who said we got to make it quick without thinking about it? I'm gonna give you something that a decision that I had to make. And this is in terms of serving, if you will, years and years ago. And the only time that I can really give you is the time when I was married. Okay, so so I was serving. I was serving in ministry. I was a counselor, if you will. And I was in that ministry for like 7 years. But this happened probably around year 4 or 5 that this happened. Both of my husband and I, we were in ministry and we were serving. And every Sunday, every Wednesday, every Friday, when the doors open, we were there. And we both served in the same ministry and counseling. And so my husband had a time where he had to, well, his decision, he wanted to sit down from ministry. And not only sit down, he stopped coming. And so it was really hard. It was difficult. I had to make a decision. First of all, I had to look at the situation because it not only impacted our family, impacted me, impacted our relationship. And then it also impacted us as leaders while serving. And so it was very difficult. It was difficult because when you walk together as one, even though we're married at the house, even in church together, we were always together, one. God, and then you have to really get real with the relationship. And I said, I still have to go to church. I still have a responsibility. I love God. I still have a leadership responsibility. I still need to serve. And then my children, our children went as a family. So I had to deal with and make a decision that I had to do what I had to do. And I cannot stay at home. I cannot shrink back on my responsibilities of being a leader and serving God and serving his people. So we had to gather together. I had to get the kids up, get them dressed, get to church, leave the house. My husband's at home. But I had to make that decision, and I had to weigh everything out in terms of what God's expectations of me. And then, even the leadership of the church, and then, how we do. Where's brother so-and-so? Then you have to be in front of the people, right? And you don't want to get into all of, everything. Oh, he's doing okay. Just pray for him, just do that. But I'm telling you, when you make that decision, I don't care if it hurts so bad. You do what God tells you to do. You do the right thing. You be obedient. You keep doing what God has assigned you to do, because even through that season of my life, God sent so many to me for me to minister to that were almost going through the same thing I was going through in a different sense. So it was an encouragement. It was an encouragement to me that I'm going in the right direction. You got to put your foot down. You cannot allow the enemy to distract you. You have to stay focused in love, because I still had to love him, at home, even though, it was a little shift. It was a shift there until God did what he needed to do to work on him. I had to keep focused, and I had to show my children that it's not about a relationship between me and your dad. It's about my relationship with him as an individual, as his child, that I had to continue to go. So being a leader is not sometimes always, the happiest things, even in your home. Sometimes you have to make those hard decisions, and you have to take time in order to evaluate the situation so you're making the right decision that impacts. Our decisions as leaders can affect everybody in your household and also even in the workplace. And sometimes decisions that we make, even in the home, can spill over. If we don't have the right attitude, it can spill over in the workplace. Because if we're assigned to people, if we are a leader of a team, if we're a manager, supervisor, those types of situations in our home life that might not be the best at that time, we have to make sure we have our attitudes right. We're walking into, our environments with love. We can't spill over and bleed over and leak over our issues onto the people that God has given to us to be accountable for and to, right? So we have to always remember balance. That's what I love, that balance, that we are getting that balance within our sphere, our cycle. If you want to take our pie that Marilyn gives us, as far as the wheel of balance, and be able to have that balance, and being sure that we're giving that time in the areas in which we designate that we want to emphasize. That's why we talked about the goal setting. Look at that, wheel of balance and say, okay, in this area of my life, I'm giving, this year I'm giving a quarter to try to balance this out, a quarter of time or what have you. We have to remember to do not take God out of the equation. Whatever we're doing, whatever change, whatever decisions that we're making, we have to keep him in the equation. Don't take him out. Don't take him out of the equation. And we have to learn also how to, even as we are moving in and out of different situations and places and experiences in our life, that we have to keep an open mind that in this time and season, everybody is not going to do it the same way. I truly believe that God is expanding our creativity, even in serving and in ministry, that some of our traditional ways of service, some of the traditional ways even of our worship might be totally different. The thing, there are all different avenues of how we can express our love for God and his people in serving. And don't just eliminate because you want to stay in the building. God might say, okay, let's go out the building and serve. Let's do something different, because it's a whole lot of people out there that don't know nothing about our God and Jesus. They've never experienced it. They've never heard the word. Just think if you're a child growing up in a home that they don't even say the word, they don't even speak his name, they don't even give him glory for keeping them alive. They've never heard about being a Christian, a believer. If they've never grown up with it as a child and they're getting older, they're not in those environments, right? So they're just waiting on us. They're just waiting on us to come and talk to them, show our light, be able to open up our mouth, use our gifts as leaders in order to impact the world. Because remember, we're already firm in that. I hope we're already firm in that we are leaders in our own respective places. And we're going to be, I think we're going to be great leaders, confident. That confidence, we cannot compare one to another in leadership or anything else, because God did not clone us. He created us as individuals, and we're all unique. That's why the body is so important, because like we talked about a little bit last week, every part of the body supplies, every part. And our part is so important. If we don't get value down to, I mean, really, if we don't know what value is and how it feels to be valued, we're walking in a season of relationship in so many different areas of life. And if we don't know how to see value and also give value and receive value, then we're going to lose some things that we shouldn't lose, you know. And so we have to be comfortable in who we are, because we're all unique. We all bring something to the table because we all have a seat. We all have a seat at the table. We don't want to lose our seat at the table when we have something to give and we have something to place on the table. We have something to say. We have something to empower others as leaders. We have something to exchange. Even as a leader, you're giving, you should be able to receive as well. Because I talked about last week, sometimes you have to allow those who you lead, you have to allow them to grow while you are observing, and then you're the one to give feedback to say, hey, you're doing good, or you need to make an adjustment over here, or you're there. If you need me, I'm there. If you need that, extra expert experience in this area, I'm there for you. But I'm gonna allow you to do what you are being paid in the workplace and serving what you are assigned to do. I'm gonna allow you and give you that leverage in order to do it, because that's our performance. You get evaluated based on what you do. In some companies, in some environments, they have performance, based on the accomplishments of what you do during the year. Are you bringing value to the company? If you're just doing just the, normal work, okay, you're just gonna get maybe a little bit, a percentage, a small percentage bonus or added to your salary. But if you can tell me what you did this year in terms of what project did you do, what efficiency did you bring, and you tell me, okay, by doing this, we cut the cost in this company by so much. And so they can see the value in it, right? They can see the value. Oh, well, let's say Robin brought this to the table. She brought this new project. It showed how this process could be put together. It's more efficient. It cut time down to get the product out. Guess what? Because she was creative enough to bring this idea and test it out, did a pilot, and we saw the outcome, we're gonna give her $1,000 bonus for that or whatever. So you do get when you accomplish the mission, the goal, when you stretch yourself out to be firm in who you are, also to be firm and where you can bring value to the table, then you can see the outcome like Ladibra. She got evidence of what she does. So I'm going to stop here. Does anyone have any comments, anything they want to say? Kathy, if you can check the chat for me, please, because it's 7:05. I don't want to go over too much time. Any comments, anything anyone wants to say or contribute this morning? Anything
This
in the
was good, Miss Faith. Thank you for sharing this morning.
thank you, Ladibra. I thank you for
You gave me positive affirmation. So when I go in this meeting this morning, I'm gonna take y'all with me, and everybody else. So thank you.
Please do. Miss Kathy, you got anything?
No, I don't see anything. People are just making comments about what you said, just being in agreement with it. Miss Latoya said you just have to ask for guidance with decision making from the Lord. And then Miss Denise, she put in the chat, trust in the Lord with all your ways, in all your ways, lean not to your own understanding, and acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. I think she was talking about that when we, not leaning to our own understanding with the when you were talking about being able to have guidance, lean on the Lord with guidance and not, just lean on it, trust in your own self.
Making
I
decisions.
wanted to, yes, ma'am, make a comment about what you said earlier when you were talking about, just having a sphere of, I can't really remember what it was, what you said, but I kind of thought about Miss Marilyn and her programs with us here in the room, the different programs that she's created over the years, how the Lord has changed the things that she's talked about. Because I've been with Miss Marilyn a long time, and she's been so innovative as far as renaming some of the programs, bringing new programs into, her sessions and stuff like that. And it's just amazing how the Lord has evolved her. I've seen her do so many different things, and we've talked about just the, plethora of different things that people have gone through, not since COVID, but before COVID, after COVID, during COVID, just so many things. And she's brought so much to the table. And for me, it is just amazing to see how he's brought her and me following her, and, just not staying stuck in my own head thinking this is it. And from work, home, church, uh, mother, grandmother, wife, or, something like that, to just let me know that it's more out there for me, and then for you to talk about being a leader, like you said, you don't have to have a lot of degrees or something like that. You can be the manager at your house. You can be the manager of yourself, just to grow and want to grow, and you have to be around people that want to grow. That's just like in your friendships, if you sit around somebody that's not wanting to, do more or go different places or experience different things, you want to not try to pull away from them, but you move on. If they want to stay where they are, just let them stay where they are, because you can't make people do what they don't want to do, but you ought to want to grow something in your life, do something different in your life, sometime of your life. So thank you for letting me share. Thank you.
Oh,
It was really very informative. Yes, ma'am.
Well, thank you, Kathy. Yeah, we all have grown over the years, and I could just think of going back. Sometimes you have to reflect of where you've been to really see where God has taken you. And I think I might have shared this, and if I repeated myself, please don't take it in my head. It's not my heart, it's my head right here. But just to see an impact of what you can do over a period of time in any capacity, when you hear feedback, when you hear that people have allowed you to impact their lives and share, and you give, your love and serve them and help, either direct them or pray with them or give them some nuggets or some experiences of your life that, God has brought you through, to hear the results, to see the results, to see the growth in people. That is enough. That is enough to keep going. That's enough to keep growing. That's enough to keep expanding yourself, to have more capacity to be able to give and do more. I mean, I can say that's my gas right there for me to keep going. Is to be able to know that an impact, a positive impact on people, to get them to open their mind to something that they might not have experienced, seen, or even thought they could ever do. That is what gives me, energy to keep going, and God, keep pushing you, keep going, encouraging, we're encouraging one another, keep showing up, keep sharing, keep telling about the goodness of God, keep it, using your testimonies, open up, use your mouth. Your mouth could be, I mean, that's your biggest asset, your voice. Use your voice in order to, communicate and to be able to share what God has done. Because if you don't use your voice, then nobody will know if you don't share. Because that's one thing we have to do is communicate. I can't communicate with my eyes and tell you all the things that God has done for me. I can't really serve you just, looking at you with my eyes, unless it's something else going on. It might be a romantic, encounter with the gentleman or my child, when, you scolding at them, those type of nonverbals, yes, because you built a relationship with those people. But if you're coming to someone that God says, okay, I want you to share who I am, and you just looking at them, they're gonna think you got to open your mouth. You got to learn how to speak and be confident in what we're saying, and who we believe in, and don't let fear get in the way. So I want to pray us out for today. Thank you all for coming on. And we're looking forward to seeing you guys tonight, those who can come on. And I believe we're going to have a special speaker tonight at 7 o'clock. And Dr. Jenkins is going to be coming on and speaking in the room. And so I hope you can come on tonight and be able to be a part of that great encounter, be able to learn, embrace. I know she has a lot to say, a lot to give, and we'll probably be able to put some of all those nuggets that she's going to share into us, and be able to share with others. So Father, we just thank you for this time. This morning, we thank you, we magnify you, we glorify you for just waking us up this morning, God, and just putting us on your mind. We thank you for your breath that we breathe continuously, Father, and we thank you, God, for all that are in the room. We thank you for those who have just gotten up because they want to learn, they want to embrace more, they want to do more, they want to grow more. We thank you for the breakfast of champions, and we thank you, God, that you are doing what you're doing. Only you can do that for us, God, and we appreciate you. We love you. We thank you for a great day. For this is the day that you have made, and we rejoice and we are happy and glad in it. And so we are ready to hit the streets, to get to work, to do what we have to do today and be able to lead and serve others. And we give you glory in Jesus' name. Amen. You all have a wonderful day today. Looking forward to seeing you all tonight if you can come in the room. And if not, I'll see you next week. Have a blessed week.